It is Live Bold and Boss Up podcast time. It's your girls, Steph and Ash, and we are here today to talk to Greg Schmitzer. He is the president and co-founder at Mad Mobile, and we really get behind and pick his brain on how he's been really successful in an ever-changing technology and AI market. And it was really actually interesting to chat with him and to understand like the grit and perseverance behind it and how you have to change and pivot all the time.
Yeah, very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be a reminder for the listeners to, don't get lost in something that's not working. Figure it out, change it, move, position. And here's Greg's example. Okay, so let's dive in. I loved how we were just kind of like spitballing and chatting about IT technology Tampa in the
Yep.
90s,
Yep.
right? Like, and starting out.
Yep.
That's a great place to start out and hear about like how you finally got to this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been quite a ride since, I got here in summer of 96. And when I landed in Tampa, I had this kind of vision in my head that I wanted to be involved in technology. I had really just been exposed to it when I was at, you guys, I haven't even told you this part, but, I worked for the World Wrestling Federation out of, Stamford, Connecticut, their headquarters there before I moved down here. And it really opened my eyes to the power of the internet. I mean, really still was like AOL days back then. But, when I was at the WWF, now it's WWE, it was incredible to see, the amount of traffic that they were able to generate in these chat rooms. So there would literally be like a keyword in AOL or a chat room, and wrestlers would come out of the ring and they would, get there and start, chatting with, with real live fans. And I saw, you had like an AOL bill back then. Like you would get charged by the hour for like, usage of AOL. And we had parents complaining that their AOL bill was $300 a month because the kids were chatting all the time.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, I became, I got my computer set up and I just became enamored with, with technology and with the internet. And so when I came down to Tampa, with my marketing and sales degree, I was like, I want to focus on technology. And when I got here, I want to say Tech Data was probably the biggest tech company, in the area. And, and everybody was telling me like, listen, just remember they pay with sunshine down here. That's just an expression down here.
Well, yeah, because there's no like stat.
And a job that pays a lot.
Right. Yeah. Because there was like, well, there still is no state tax. Right. And like, I don't know, the cost of living was just,
it was way
super cheap.
Yeah. It was way lower back then, but there really wasn't a big technology scene, to speak of. And I was, I convinced there were some local agencies in town. So there's like Paradigm and some others. And there was one called Ossick and Cheney. So it was Lance Ossick and Andrea Cheney. They had a group. And I convinced them to let me start AC Online, which was the created websites for, for people. And Andrea used to always say, Greg, you make it sound like every company should have a website. This is, again, late 90s, look where we are now, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, every company should. And we did some really cool stuff. We did like first website for Sunshine Network, if you remember that. We did the first website for West Chase Homes and, a bunch of things like that. And then I became really enamored with, the internet and technology and everything else. And so, but during that time, I came across a guy named Bruce Bennett, who had been a successful entrepreneur. He had exited a company called Image Technologies, and he had another one that he was starting up, and ended up teaming up with Bruce after that. And we were part of this kind of group of people in the area, part of the Tampa Bay Technology Forum, early days, right? So it was like Tom Wallace and, Marty Traber and Marty Donsky and Antoinette, and there would be parties, and it was just a pretty small, community of people who were trying to start up companies and do tech. And it was really a fun time. But now you fast forward and it's incredible. Wave and so many other things that can help, young entrepreneurs get off the ground, find funding, or, and give them advice on how to, build their business and make sure that they're doing the right things and connecting the right people. So yeah, it's awesome to see this community really evolve because early days, when we were talking to investors and people would always say, why Tampa? Like, why are you guys in Tampa? And we always have the same answer because that's where we live. We love it here and we don't want to go anywhere else. And it used to be, kind of hard to, attract people to move to Tampa, because they picture this as a place where you come for vacation, not a place that you necessarily live all the time. But now it's super easy. We move people here,
all the time.
Every month we're moving somebody here.
We feel the traffic now.
Right.
Like
No,
Tuesday through Thursday is like terrible.
Oh,
every day is terrible.
I mean, yeah, Friday's a little light. No one's working on Friday.
There used to be the snowbird concept. Right now it's just all year long, the traffic for it. So but yeah, no, I'm really super proud, to see, that our community has, really grown up to become this awesome tech base. And we've got, ReliQuest and all these other, really cool tech companies that have come out of this area. And again, they're attracting more talent. You guys see it, obviously, they're attracting more talent and and then they start going, oh, well, there's this other company over here in Tampa as well. And so it's been awesome to see it really grow.
I agree. Yeah. So what inspired you to, after all this, all the tech, things that you were doing, to start your own company in 2010?
Yeah. What made me that crazy? So, I had, I did have, in between that company with Bruce and this company, I worked for, I became enamored with mobile, and this was 2004. I was hired by a group called Flytext out of the UK to head up the US. And really, this is when text messaging is new. Okay. So they were doing the American Idol text vote from the UK. So they had people on site at AT&T and their platform was powering the text vote. And that's really how text messaging took off in the US. Like back in the day, I mean, you couldn't text between Sprint and AT&T, I used there was no interoperability. And so it was all brand new and text messages were like 25 cents a piece to send and everything else. So, but this text voting for American Idol really helped introduce people to the power of text. So, so I was running around the US with a platform for text messaging that brands could use. We had huge customers like Target and, Time, magazine, Sports Illustrated, all kinds of people like that. And it was a fun time. But I became, then really focused on, hey, mobile is the next frontier, right? And we, one of the last deals I sold was Target's first mobile website. And I was like, this is amazing. I mean, like at the time, internet traffic that was being viewed on mobile devices was like 2%. Like it was still really low. There's still a lot of flip phones, and the iPhone was, had when it came out in 2007, so it was pretty new, and it was, I saw it like, hey, listen, I've seen this movie before where people told us like, no one's ever going to buy things on their computer. And people said the same things about mobile. Like, no one's ever going to buy expensive things on their phone. And now you see people buy cars. And so I was like, I told Bruce, I was like, listen, I've seen this movie before. You have too. Let's start a company that focuses on making mobile commerce very achievable for retailers and other people who are going to see traffic increase more and more from mobile devices. And so we raised $300,000 to start the company, and which isn't a lot of money, but that's what we felt like, that's what we needed to get started. There were three of us in a room, just like this, and we did what we do best, and we just started selling. So I put together a PowerPoint, about, hey, we could mobilize, your website. So, it looks great and converts better on, on mobile devices. And so we developed, we hired a couple of people, we developed this platform very, very quickly. And within 3 months, we sold our first deal, which was to Pure One, which was, I still remember that, we were on the call and they're all around the table, and we put together this demo that was basically what a mobile website looks like today, but this was like 14 years ago, and we're like, hey, this is what it could look like. And we got on the phone and we were waiting for them to tell us that they were going with somebody else, because there was other companies that were kind of doing this that had some traction. And they're like, and we decided we're going with you. We're like, what?
Now the real work begins, right? Like,
yeah, no, exactly. And I'll never forget. So one of the two first people that we brought on was Eric Breland and Randy Brown, and they're still with us today, right? Two developers. And they came in and they said, Greg, they're like, this sounds great. Like, where's the code? I'm like, what do you mean, where's the code? That's why we hired you guys. Like, what? But wow. We delivered for Pier 1 and we started taking off from there. And I think this is a good story. You're gonna, any entrepreneur knows you have to be able to shift and pivot and move to, to survive and thrive, as an entrepreneur. So we went down this path where we're like, hey, we're going to mobilize everything. We're going to be a leader in mobile commerce, and we're going to do that. And we had 90 retailers signed up, within the first couple of years. And, huge retailers. So we're doing Office Depot. We were doing mobile ticketing for Major League Baseball. We had, all kinds of Claire's and all kinds of Justice and all these other retailers were using us for, for mobile commerce. And the traffic was starting to go up and up and up. And it was really, really awesome. We were like featured in Forrester, their Wave report. It's like this, top, one of the top players in mobile commerce. And everything was going great until responsive design came along. And all of a sudden everybody's like, wait a second, we don't need a separate mobile site that uses your platform, an MDOT site. We can just have responsive design now, where you design in one format and it responds to to different screen sizes and everything else. And suddenly we're like, whoa, there's a train coming down the track. Right. We better get ready for this. And fortunately, we had a number of customers, like Sports Chalet was one that really pushed us and said, hey, listen, guys, there's a much bigger opportunity in the store, right? Our customers are starting to come in the store with more information than our associates on the floor, because they have access to the website and everything else. And, we need to empower people on the floor, like, hey, what has Ashley bought before? Does Stephanie like kayaking? Or, what is it that they're, that they bought from us before, their preferences and all these other things. And so we started using that same platform to, basically surface data from legacy systems for associates. And, the other thing to learn, you got to have a couple lucky breaks, to, kind of get where you want to go. And I was at a trade show and this guy walks up to me and he's like, hey, I heard you guys got a platform that can like pull together data from lots of different, retail systems and make it work on mobile. I was like, yeah, we do. And the guy turns his badge around. He was president of Micros, which is a huge, point of sale company and player in retail and restaurant. And we ended up signing a big deal with them to basically develop a solution for store associates that would do, all these things, connecting, customer data, product data, everything else, on mobile devices. And we went to market together, and 6 months later, Oracle bought them. And this is a funny story. So Oracle bought them, and we're like, hey, what does this mean for us?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Oracle looked at everything and they said, hey, what's this tech here, for associates, and they said, oh, this is tech, it's powered by, Mad Mobile. And they're like, well, if we don't know the IP, then, it's out. So they said, okay, it's out. So we were like, out. And we're like, okay, I guess we're gonna have to run with this ourselves. And I don't know, 30 days later, we get a call. They're like, hey, Talbot's saw this product and we showed it at the big, retail trade show. And they said they're not buying all this other stuff from Oracle unless they have that mobile thing for their associates. So they're like, can you come back in here? And so we closed the deal with Talbot and it took off from there.
That's awesome. What was the mobile thing for the associates? Like, what did it do for them?
It's still there. I mean, it's still the leading product in retail. It's called Concierge. So if you go into, so our customers today are like Ralph Lauren globally, Tractor Supply, we do, it's a mobile point of sale. It's like, so it's a mobile device in the hand of associates that you can do. I can check you out, without you standing in line. I can find products there in other
like that
stores.
Are in the, okay, right.
Okay. Call that endless aisle. And then there's clienteling, and you've probably experienced clienteling on the other end of it, where they're saying, your Associated sending you text messages. Hey, you got that shirt in green. We have it in blue now. Do you want to, come into the store and try it on, or you want to just buy it? Here's a link. You can click on that link and just buy it, and I'll get credit for it. So we, pretty quickly became the leader in that space, and still are today. We have customers like Talbot's. That was 10 years ago. Talbot's been with us for 10 years. And they just signed another extension. So we've got Brooks Brothers and Urban Outfitters and Estee Lauder, Signet Jewelers, Snipes, West Marine. We have so many customers that run this every day in their stores, and it's like mission critical to them now. Like the revenue that this generates for them is absolutely mission critical. So, am I talking too much?
No, no, it's so interesting.
I'm thinking
coffee, so
espresso. No, you had me thinking about, back in the day when I used to go shopping with my mom, she loved Talbots, right? And Talbots, right? Yeah. And she would always be like, oh, these people are so great. They always tell me like what's in store and that this has another color. Yeah. And it's just funny full circle, right? Yeah. To now be chatting with the individual who like created all of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't do it alone, but yes.
Yeah. Right.
It was fun to get to that point, and retail is an awesome space. I mean, the technology people in that space are really very innovative and thought leaders in what they're doing, and it's been a lot of fun working with that space. Yeah. And then we've got the restaurant side.
I was going to ask
about
that. Yeah.
So again, amazing how some of these things kind of come together and you create your own luck, kind of thing. So we did, one of the customers that we did a mobile commerce website for was a company called Kansas City Steaks. So we did that. And one of the ideas, that we did early on is that at the bottom of the mobile website, we would put powered by Mad Mobile, right? So people knew that mobile experience was powered by Mad Mobile. And so anyway, a Cisco executive was on Kansas City Steaks and saw that and was like, hey, this company's interesting. What do these guys do? And so if you don't know Cisco Foods, they're the largest broadline food distributor in the United States. 400,000 restaurants, use them. And they had a competitor which had introduced a mobile ordering solution for restaurants. So instead of calling your rep or getting on a laptop and placing an order, they could just do it on their phone. And US Foods was starting to get some traction with that, and Cisco wanted a mobile solution. They had 7 different ordering systems. I mean, it was a lot, and none of their data was optimized for consumers. Like chicken breast, if you did a search in their old system for chicken breast spelled properly, you would get 0 results. If you search for CKNBRST, you would get back like 18,000. So, their data wasn't normalized for anybody to really, buy everything. So, anyway, long story short, he came into our office and was like, yeah, this is what we're trying to do. And we literally in the back of a napkin, wrote out, hey, this is how we can make this happen for you guys. And we signed a very significant deal with Cisco Foods to create their first mobile ordering solution. This is 2014. And, I still remember I was, do ride-alongs with the Cisco reps, and they're like, my customers aren't going to want this. They like calling me on the phone. They like to, like, no, listen, this is going to make your life easier. They're not going to have to call you every time they want to add lemons at, 5 minutes before the cutoff, for their daily order. And so, a year later, I went on the same ride-along with one of the same guys over in Clearwater Beach, and he's like, you're right, this thing is awesome. He goes, now I can focus on more strategic things with my customers. I don't have to just be an order taker, for all the things that they're trying to do, each and every day. So anyway, long story short, we got it's not really short, but we've got really close with Cisco Foods. We ended up developing their mobile inventory solution as well. I mean, it's an amazing company. And when COVID hit, I think all of us, I mean, even as entrepreneurs, you're like, always thinking about what could be, what could take us down? What could impact us? Like I said, the train coming down the track, nobody saw COVID, right?
Right.
And that hit, and everybody's like, stay at home. And our retail customers are closing their doors. Our restaurant customers are closing their doors. Like, what are we going to do? It was pretty terrifying. But for Cisco, they had food they were selling in supermarkets. don't know if you remember this. I mean, this is how crazy it was back then. And, the CEO from Cisco was, I remember he was like, had a press conference with Donald Trump about how Cisco was going to be trying to help help Americans by putting food into into the stores. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy time. And so we had an opportunity with Cisco to acquire Cake, their point of sale solution, because they really wanted to stay focused on their core assets. I mean, it's a Fortune 500 company. And so we put together a package where we would acquire this Cake point of sale, which is designed for restaurants, and we would take care of their customers, because every Cake point of sale customer is also a Cisco customer. So we put together a deal and acquired Cake in 2020. Again, during COVID, and then we just went to work on innovating and doing what we do to make it better. There's already a great product. People love Cake. It's always been like the highest rated, point of sale solution out there, easiest to use, but it was very under marketed because it was part of Cisco, and they just sold it through their channels. Yeah, exactly.
How did selling Cake make it easier and better for the consumers back then? What made it so great?
So Cisco wanted to focus on, really their core assets and take care of their customers. And we had to, make some assurances to Cisco that, listen, we're going to continue this very high level of customer support, because that's what's required to be, their food business is more important to them than, the point of sale, revenue that they were seeing. So we had to really make sure that they knew that we were going to continue to take care, of their customers, throughout this. But we saw, hey, this is a great product, but it could be even better. And so brought you guys some swag.
Yes, thank you.
Market with our whole new, call it the freshly baked cake. So we totally innovated the platform. We've got a whole new hardware stack with ELO that is absolutely best in class hardware designed for restaurants. Dirt and grime and everything else you see. It's not like an iPad. I mean, it's a real point of sale solution. You can pour water on and everything else. And then we spent a lot of time thinking through, hey, how could this UI be better? How could, what other modules do we need to make life for restaurant operators better? So we introduced a loyalty solution, we introduced a marketing solution, a kitchen display system. We've got a new mobile handheld. And so we're super excited to be coming back to market, with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, and that's exciting.
I don't think I've ever told anyone the story end to end. This is
fun. I love it. I'm glad.
So obviously it's not going to stop here. No. Do you have any ideas on what's next? Or are you just focusing on what the Cake and your current products?
So, we just raised $50 million from Morgan Stanley. So, we didn't take another dime until, we reached 100 million in revenue, which is pretty hard to do, right?
Congratulations.
We had to really, really sell, and it's, it's always, you're kind of like walking that fine line between, growth and, profitability. You're not doing that growth at all costs that, some of our competitors were doing. They raised tons of money and were just, burning cash. We always had to be a fiscally responsible company as we grew, but we wanted to also, keep as much of the company as possible, as long as possible, which I highly recommend. I mean, we're still 95% owned by our employees and founders, which I'm super proud of. So, when we do exit, the people who made all this happen are really gonna benefit.
Right. So. Is there like one or two things that you feel like really helped you get to that 100 million? Like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Growing a business to that. Yeah. Is there any one or two things that stand out to you that you're like, okay, because I did this, that's how I was.
Yeah,
we were so
I
successful.
wish there was a silver bullet for it, but it's, I think grit is the most important thing. I mean, there's going to be, and you guys will see it too. I mean, you just have to, continually believe. You have to be flexible in your vision. Like I said, there were a lot of people who didn't think we should do internal. My company, I had to do a lot of internal selling about us doing the Cisco app. Right? They're like, what are you talking about? We have a whole business over here. Does mobile commerce, for retailers. What are you talking about? Cisco's app for food ordering? Like, you're crazy. meanwhile, it was the best thing we ever did. Right. And, not every idea I had is the best thing in the world, but that one absolutely, was spot on. And I will say, Bruce has been amazing. He's an amazing partner because he can see a vision as well. And, we're like pit bulls. We get onto a vision and it's like, and, we think it through, but more than anything, we get to market very, very quickly. So we can fail, fast or, or get input from the field, right? Like that is the most important thing. You cannot develop, products in a vacuum and then come to market with your vision and expect everyone to be like, fall in love head over heels with your product. I mean, it's going to evolve. I mean, I hear, there's so many stories. I mean, actually the one tech story that was amazing when I got here is the TradeX story. So, the TradeX guys, which sold to Ariba for $5 billion back in 1999. I mean, that origin story was incredible. These guys came up with it. It was supposed to be a marketplace for Apple accessories. And somebody's like, hey, you guys know you can make this like a product, like a marketplace product that you can sell to other people who are doing B2B stuff. And it ended up being this incredible, success story. So, anyway, I guess my point is you've got to have a vision, but you've got to be flexible with that vision and then get feedback as soon as possible, from the field so you can, course correct. And then, and there's no secret here, you've got to be able to sell. I mean, sales, is everything.
Yeah. Even like you said, even to your internal team.
Yes. Yes. It's everything is sales. And I just held a lunch and learn at my own company on sales. And first thing I said is, all right, who in here is a salesperson? And like, 5 or 6 people put their hands up. I said, no, you're all salespeople. I said, whether you're selling your husband on what you should be getting for dinner tonight, or whether you're trying to sell your boss on why you should get a promotion, or whether you're selling, your ideas internally, or, whatever it is, everybody is in sales and you need to have that mindset. But anyway, but yes, sales is an important part of it. And Bruce and I have, very much have sales DNA. So that's been a big part of it too.
Is there anything that you would have done differently or like any regrets that you have?
Yeah. Well, we have one big mistake we made was, so when we acquired Cake had its own like dedicated website called trycake.com and its own brand and everything else. And, Mad Mobile was well known in retail, but nobody in restaurant knew who Mad Mobile was. And, we had potential investors and other people who were in our ear were like, hey, this needs to be all one company. You need to have it all underneath one banner. It's all Mad Mobile. Basically get rid of the Cake name and put it all underneath madmobile.com. So we did that, and all of our, SEO and all our traffic that was coming in, our leads to Cake went in the trash. And so, but like I said, you've got to be flexible. You've got to admit, quickly when you've made mistakes. And we did. We came back with trycake.com. It's even better now. It's fully e-commerce enabled. It's on Shopify. You can literally buy, cake point of sale without even talking to somebody now. So you've got to be able to, recognize mistakes quickly and go from there. And then obviously the other mistakes, that, everybody has are, just hiring mistakes, that you make throughout the process. You think someone's going to be awesome, and it turns out they're not. And how long do you let that go on? And that's the people part of it is, we have 370 employees now. That's always the hardest part, is, managing people, making sure that they feel like they've got a career path, that they've got a place in there, that you've got a culture that, people, want to, be a part of. You've got all these, work-life balance things now you've got, to deal with. I'm jealous you guys can have dogs in the office. But yeah, it's tricky now. And, as you guys know better than anyone, I mean, it's hard to retain top talent because anyone can go to any company and figure out who their top people are by going to LinkedIn. I mean, it's just anybody can do that and then reach out to them. And I've done it. I'm very happy to say I consider recruiting part of my, part of my job description, where I've found a number of our top employees, that I just reached out.
Stop doing that.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So you just mentioned earlier that someone can go on your website, buy cake without even talking to a salesperson. Do you feel like that would make your sales team obsolete? Like, I even dare say that out loud? Okay.
Not at all. I mean, it's really just I mean, I think, we get a few people who do that, but mostly they call for special pricing.
You gotta yeah, okay, yeah. And ask them questions and yeah.
What's fun about cake is like, so it's interesting is that I get to, what keeps me, on my heels is, or on my toes, is I get to talk to retail people who, on the retail side, we're selling to like CIO at Tractor Supply and CIO Ralph Lauren and people like that. And then, you got the cake business and you're talking to people who own a restaurant, right? Like they're the owner, the operator, the cook, the chef, whatever. Some of our customers have 100 locations, but most of them are 1 to 5 locations, and it's just a whole different,
totally different conversation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. What I love about, so then on the retail side, the sales cycle is like 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, because they're, average deal size is, 1.6 million plus. And then you got, the cake side, like those are 1 or 2 call closes. Like, so every day we're closing deals. So it's like you get that dopamine rush, for closing deals every day. So that's fun too. So yeah, no, I get to live in both worlds. So it's fun.
Do you have a totally separate team for cake? Like your salespeople, they're not selling like retail and cake. Yeah.
I'm the only one. Well, Thomas heads up sales. So Thomas was in the room when we had 3 people in the room. He's our head of sales. So Thomas and I both, kind of go in between, but everyone else is dedicated to either cake or concierge retail.
Okay, cool. Well, we have some very cool cake merchandise that you brought us. Thank you so much. I love it. I'm just here for the cake.
I know this might be my new favorite hat.
Cool. Oh, I do have one other thing that we've done that's actually, I should have said this first. This is probably one of the most important things that we've done that's helped us be successful is early on, and still to this day, is aligning yourself with key partners that have credibility already, in the space. So early on, I formed a relationship with Apple. And again, this is when mobile was new and people were starting to do things with mobile, and people were asking like, Apple, what should we do, about having, in store. And so when, finding a partner who can, bring you in, and give you that credibility early on is really, really key. And we're still doing it to this day. So Cisco continues to be an awesome partner for us. We're back to doing ride-alongs. We have people now in markets, and we're putting more and more people out in the field who do ride-alongs with Cisco reps. They go into restaurants with the Cisco reps, and that's awesome. And then we've got a new partnership we're about to introduce with Best Buy. So Best Buy is going to be doing service for all cake customers, so they can do installations and service. Hey, my Wi-Fi's down, whatever else. So, but national coverage, with that. But again, just finding partners, key partners, not just, hey, we're on their website, but people who you're really co-selling with and sharing opportunities with. And that's really can make a huge difference in your trajectory.
How did you develop that relationship with Apple? Obviously they're huge. Like, did you know somebody there? Like, did you just go in and sell them? Like, how did you get that partnership?
Yeah, that one was really difficult. Not as difficult as the NCR partnership that I formed, but Apple was a challenge because they had already partnered with our competitor. So it was a company called Tulip Retail. I think they're still around. But Tulip had built their whole business around iOS, which Apple loved, of course. It was an iOS app, right? Built in Swift. We were platform agnostic, so we could also run on Android device and everything else. They didn't love that about us. But the thing is, there's a couple different elements for retail store technology. One is the clienteling, where I'm sending messages with, hey, this is in store now, and all that kind of stuff, and happy birthday. The other part is the mobile point of sale transactions. So we very early on focused on the transaction element of it, which is the harder part, like talking to legacy point of sale systems with a mobile device. So NCR systems, Oracle systems, and sitting on top of theirs is not easy. We developed some really unique technology called a POSIT Actor that can read those systems and enable that to happen without APIs. And it was at that point that I went to Apple and they said, hey, I know you're partnered with Tulip, but that's really more clienteling. You could be partners with us for mobile point of sale, which I knew was a much bigger opportunity in the long run. And they're like, well, you don't have anything that's just in iOS. I was like, what if we wrote like one piece that was just iOS? And they're like, go on. So we did. We wrote this one piece, and we became their top partner in the retail space for this very, very quickly. In fact, we became their de facto partner. Anytime anybody said, hey, I want to have iPads in the hands of store associates, how am I going to make this work with my point of sale system? They're like, Mad Mobile. They brought us in.
Nice.
So yeah, that was, I still remember when I was at the lobby bar at one of these trade shows, the guy from Tulip, it was a very friendly competition, but he's like, you got a long way to go on this Apple relationship. And I said, I'm real good at catching up.
Nice. Wow.
So it's been fun.
Yeah. I love how you think outside the box and like just.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to try things and think big. I think that's my advice too to a lot of people. They come to me with their ideas, and I'm like, try to think a little bit bigger. Don't be afraid to think a little bit bigger. Than hey, I'm boxed into this one particular thing.
Yeah.
One last question. You're like, telling the listeners, right, to think bigger, right?
Yeah.
Think outside the box, think bigger. But how, like in your head, do you do that, right? Like, I feel like some people get stuck with just, they have the idea and then they're really stuck. Like, how can they even think bigger than that? How can they kind of break through that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, I would say try to get as far along with your idea and validate it as much as possible before you even start to try and raise money and everything else. The farther along you can get, the more you can, retain of your ownership, in that company. But just start to think like, who else could benefit from this? Is it just this particular market, or what other players could I, get involved who could benefit from this technology or this solution, who would be interested in kind of, bringing this all together for this particular customer or for this particular vertical. And just think who stands to benefit from it, and then trying to weave a story that involves all of them. That's really it. I knew that what Apple wanted was to sell devices, right? They didn't care really about us. They just want to sell devices. And we enabled them to sell more devices because our technology surfaced data that was locked in these non-Apple systems to work on their Apple devices. And so just thinking through, what is it that, these because big companies, there's lots of things that they don't do, right? What is it that, how can we help them be successful, and watch how fast, they help you be successful.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. This has been great. Like, I love.
Done already? That was fast.
Is there anything else that we didn't ask that you feel like?
Hear from you guys were saying, like, help me, tell me, like, the next past story. I've known Dan for a long time, but how did
Take it away?
Tell me about you guys.
Oh.
How you got this awesome office, and how you got to be as successful as you guys are.
Well, it is very appropriate because yesterday was our 6-year anniversary. So it's gone by so fast. Thank you. But we just, being in the staffing world for so long, like Dan's been in the industry for 25 plus years, and probably the best, like one of the best that I've ever met in the industry. The opportunity was there. He wanted to do it again. He sold his previous company and joined forces with myself and Gina and James. And I brought Ash to the table with the corporate kind of vision and mindset.
Yeah, I'm kind of our black sheep of our family. I touched staffing a little bit, but I was always more corporate side. So yeah.
So she kind of rounds us out with the corporate mindset. But yeah, it's been a fun journey. Learned a lot.
5 people.
Started with 5. Yeah. And then our first employee that we ever hired still here, Kelly. Yeah. And we're big on.
You got it in Orlando as well?
We have an Orlando office, and then we have kind of a Dallas office. We have an account manager in Dallas, and then we have recruiters and people all over. Yeah.
Just kind of touching base in those markets, Yeah.
All right. Last thing, AI. What are you seeing as far as skill sets, demand? because I'm an AI geek. So
well, Stephanie kind of led the charge right now in AI for the whole company. So she made us all take a certification.
Yes.
Everybody took it.
Learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we tested and everything. And she created like, I'm like boasting about you right now. Sorry.
I didn't create it.
Well, you didn't create it, but she like brought it in, right? To be like, okay, we need to start using this to be right. This much better than our competition. So, I mean, I'm talking for you, but it's like a really cool AI generated system where you can put in your resume, you can put in the job description, and then you can have like an interview with AI right. And so this way it can kind of prompt you and ask you questions that maybe you didn't think of to prep you for the interview. Right. So you can kind of practice. Right.
Yeah.
So we're trying that out right now.
Yeah.
What did I miss? Anything?
You tried adding that to like something like soul machines or anything like that? Where it's actual like avatar. Have you seen that? It's pretty awesome.
No.
Oh, I'll show it.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Soul machines, they're the ones, it's literally the same graphics people who did Avatar, and they have digital people, and you can create your own digital person. But you could create like a virtual interviewer that is powered by an LLM, and then you can feed it information that's specific about a job description or whatever else, and have full-blown conversation. It's pretty awesome.
That is really cool.
It's pretty awesome. Check it out.
We haven't gotten that far yet, but maybe that's next.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah. But I'm glad you guys are thinking like that.
Yeah, we gotta like, do something different, right? Like staffing can't be the same staffing forever. You have to.
Yeah, we did launch Next Path AI, which is like a completely separate website that all of our AI jobs are on there. So that way, like, we're trying to embrace the change.
Yeah. That is one area. So we have an AI group. We've tried to hire some AI people, so maybe we should talk about this.
Yeah.
And they either want $900,000 or they have no experience. It's like, there's like no in between. So, we've got people who are, pretty well versed, in AI now. We've got a couple of products that we're coming out with for Cake and for Concierge.
Anything you can share?
Super excited about. Well, I mean, just even on the Cake side, the AI reporting is just awesome. Like, typical reporting that you see now is I go into a dashboard or a BI tool, and I've, got, filters and, things I'm setting up in different segments or whatever. And we're just running reports, right? Like, nobody wants to do that anymore. Right?
So what is this? Like, so how does AI make a difference?
Just, I have all of your sales data, customer data, and I can just ask questions. So if I'm like Celeb Sandwiches, one of our biggest customers out west, they say, hey, how many, what's my best selling sandwich in Arizona today? And it'll tell you, what were my top performing stores, top 5, and my lowest 5 performing stores. And I'm like, okay. They say, hey, give me some insights. This is part of it. Give me some insights about my sales data today, and it'll spit them out. Be like, hey, so-and-so had, high number of catering orders today. This one had an extremely low number of whatever salads sold, whatever. But it just provides, insights on that data, and all they have to do is ask questions into the phone. They can even use voice.
Wow.
So you just ask questions and get back answers. You can even do things, and it's not that groundbreaking, but hey, create a pie chart showing my product mix for my best-selling items in California. Boom, there it is. I mean, just easy stuff. But like you said, it's like conversational.
Yes.
And it's providing insights. And so
you develop that? Like your team develops that AI?
Yeah. We're doing something similar on the retail side. It's pretty awesome.
Do you see yourself, because I'm just thinking for staffing, like that would be so cool to be like, give me this data on like placements or whatever. Like, do you see yourself getting into other industries like that?
I don't know about that. I mean, it's I think we've got so much on our plate already. But I do see, I mean, my head's always going, thinking about, what's awesome, what's next. And certainly AI is an obvious, next frontier. But like anything else, it's going to be, finding a specific problem. You don't want to be, a solution looking for a problem, so, what is this really solving? Why is it better than just, what is out there now? And it's so, so much of that is easy to see with, with AI. So, but there's so much noise out there, and it's changing so fast. It reminds me of like the early internet days when there's like a new browser every 6 months.
Yeah, right.
Now it's like, another upgrade to the LLM. Here's the new, here's a new competitor, and all these new tools and everything else. But probably the most exciting part for me about AI right now, though, is just the developer tools that, all of our developers use it now. So cursor.sh is actually an amazing development tool. And it does code completion and testing and really, really incredible code generation to the point where there's really no reason for someone to be developing code from scratch anymore without using these tools. The 10x engineer is very, very possible, with Cursor and tools like that. So what that means is, because I'm very impatient, is faster time to market, less bugs, less time doing all the arduous tasks of development around, writing, user stories and test cases and all the things that, everybody kind of procrastinates on. And so it absolutely accelerates development. And what's exciting for entrepreneurs is, again, you could be, I know Sam Altman talks about this a lot, but we're going to see a solopreneur billionaire sometime in the next few years, right? Somebody who just by themselves made $1 billion because they used AI to develop, and may not even be a developer, used AI to develop code that did something, that connected something, that generates revenue. And I promise you, whatever it is going to have payments. That's the part of business too, is payments. Payments is amazing business to be part of, but it's going to have a payments component, and we're absolutely going to see that. But again, it's not like, I remember early days we start companies, you'd have to be like, all right, we're going to go buy a bunch of hardware, so we can have servers, we've got host all of it. Everything's cloud infrastructure, and there's so many just cloud services you can use that you can as a one person, two person shop do something, spin something up very, very quickly. And what I hear people saying is, we're going to start seeing companies that come and go in a year, but are successful. They started off, they reached market, and then another competitor came along because it only took them a month to get to market. And so there might be 1 or 2 year companies again that are successful, but they're almost like disposable, and you go on to the next one.
Right.
So I think
that's really interesting. It's been really interesting picking your brain and kind of diving in and hearing all of this, because I'm not so techie. I'm like, but I'm realizing you don't necessarily need to be. You just need to be creative and go for it.
Yeah, I'm not a developer, but these tools and AI unlocks all those capabilities. Now listen, you still need somebody who understands the tech and can steer AI to do what you need to do, but the barriers are so low now for someone who has vision to achieve it. It's an awesome time to be alive.
Yeah.
Awesome time.
Thank you so much. This was this was so exciting.
I know, it was fun.
I took some mental notes too. I'm going to go back and be like, okay, what do we need to do?
Well, no, it's a real privilege and honor. Thank you for having me. Like I said, I've seen some, you've had some outstanding people on here, before, and appreciate you including me.
Thank you.